Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to the Recap and Reaction Show. I'm your host, Stephanie, a.k.a. Queen, joined by Geoff Klafter from the Happily Ever Klafter Daily Sports Blog. The New York Knicks lost a close one last night, 103 to 100. They were on a back-to-back. I don't think OKC was. They were too? So both teams were okay.
But, SGA and Hartenstein didn't play against Chicago, but they had played in Chicago the night before.
All right, so both teams on the second game of a back-to-back. I mean, Knicks fans, we may not be into moral victories, and I'm with you on that. But it was really good to see the compete level last night. It was really good to see the Knicks hold this team to 103 points. Yes, they were without one of their top scorers in Jalen Williams. But still, the Knicks were back, as Divine from the Knicks Real Talk would say, the nitty-gritty committee. And that's what I thought from the Knicks on the defensive end. You know, OKC still shot better than we did. Listen, the defense was good, but and that's what we wanted, right? I think the Knicks are top 10 in defense. We wanted the defense, but the offense can't be going south against these tough teams. You know, Detroit is tough physically. OKC is tough more athletically. And it just seems like our shooting is going south. And as much as I want our defense to improve and continue to improve, and it looks like it's here to stay, we got to start knocking down some shots on a consistent level. Really good game. We'll get into it. You know, I never, ever, ever, ever talk about the officials, ever. I just don't. But last night was just, it was horrible. I thought it was blatant, particularly that charge on Brunson, and we'll talk about it, which should have been a charge on Brunson, and Shai Gilgeous at Alexander's third foul was a no call. I'm like, are we serious, right? Like, how blatant can you be? You know? Then the ticky tack on Cat for his fifth. All right, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop because I'm previewing the entire show. Geoff, briefly than I just did, give me your overview of last night's game, and then we will get into the nitty-gritty of it.
Well, I'm just disappointed. I thought we let one slip away last night, to be honest. I agree with you regarding the officiating. Apparently, the hook is always an offensive foul unless Chet Holmgren does it, and then it's perfectly fine legal basketball play. Like, the only thing I'll say about that, because I don't want to, we should have won that game anyway, regardless of the officiating, point blank, in my opinion. But make the calls consistent. Like, if you're going to say that's a no call on Brunson in the first quarter, I'm okay with that. But then you don't go back and then you originally call an and one on OG Anunoby on the same play, and then you reverse it and say it's an offensive foul on the other end. No, there's got to be consistency in what you're calling. If it's a foul on one end, it's a foul on the other end. That's all I'll say about that. And I thought that was where it was because it's difficult for the players. If it's a foul on one end and it's not on the other, then the teams aren't playing by the same set of rules, and it makes it very difficult. But that's not the reason we lost this game. I mean, we had so many opportunities, and we didn't take advantage of them. And it was even more so that disappointing because Boston got beat last night too. So we had a chance to pick up ground in the standings, and we didn't. And now we're headed out on the road for 5 in a row. So, this was a one we let slip away, and I'm afraid it's going to be one that we're going to regret.
I would say that's not the reason we lost the game, but calling that third foul changes the trajectory of the game.
Absolutely.
It changes the trajectory of the game. It changes the complexity. It changes.
Yeah, he has to sit literally the entire second quarter, probably. And he didn't get called for another foul the entire game, by the way. Like, he picked up 2 in the first 5 minutes, and then he should have been called for that one, and he didn't pick up another one. Meanwhile, I think Karl Towns just got whistled for another foul as we've been speaking here. Like, he'd have had 9 or 10 if they'd have let him.
Yeah, yeah. Did they review that Brunson charge? They reviewed it, right?
I don't know. I was still
no, they couldn't because it was a no call. It was a no call, so they can't. They didn't review it. All right. Well, gosh, where do we start?
You want to start with Brunson?
I'm going to start with Brunson and Cat as a tandem. Well, I'm going to make an overall point on both of them, and then you can start with whichever one you want to start with, and I'll piggyback off of you. I thought that both of those players found a way to contribute. And that's what you want. I mean, we can get into Brunson has to shoot better in bigger games. We can get into Cat has to be featured more, and we will get into that. But finding a way to contribute no matter what. And, Brunson with 15 assists last night. I was listening to Knick Rehab. I love those guys because they just give it to you straight. No chaser, and one of them seemed to feel that the 15 assists was not significant, didn't contribute to winning. Like you can make a pass to somebody and they make a layup and it's an assist, but doesn't really do anything. But I disagree with that point. I thought Brunson's shot wasn't falling. I thought he made a concerted effort when he was double teamed, when there was any type of stunt, whatever it was, to get the ball out of his hand quickly to someone else. And he did that. And Cat, the egregiousness of, forget the scheme not going to him. I'm convinced that Brunson and Hart have a secret pact that they're just not going to pass Karl-Anthony Towns the ball unless it's for a layup. And he just goes out there. I think it was 17 rebounds, 9 of them offensive, really engaged on the defensive end, that he's going to figure out and find a way to impact winning whether he gets shots or not. And I appreciated that from both of them last night. Were they perfect? They were not, and we'll get into that. But that's the main point I wanted to make about those two, just finding a way to contribute when you're not getting shots or your shots are not falling. Yeah. Wherever you want to go, Geoff.
Well, Towns had a fascinating. Well, I think both of them were kind of fascinating and odd performances. I mean, Towns barely got the ball, didn't got the I think fewest amount of field goal attempts of all the starters, which is bizarre strategy. But I'm at the point where I kind of understand that that's what the Knicks are going to be. Like, you're at that point with Mikal Bridges. Mm-hmm. The Knicks offense is not going to feature Towns. That's just not what Mike Brown wants to do. As much as I want it, I can want it till I'm blue in the face. I can throw a temper tantrum. I could do whatever. It ain't happening. Like, it's clear that that's not the way that they want to play. They want him to focus more on rebounding and defense. He was terrific with his rebounding, especially on the offensive end last night. But then he was minus 18 in a game we lost by 3. So, I mean, I think that's alarming. That's that big a negative, right? I'm not the biggest fan of box plus minus, but when it's skewed that much, I think that's something that we should probably take a look at. And then on the other side with Brunson, that's the 4th time in the last 5 games he's had a bad shooting performance. So the only good shooting performance he's had since February 24th is the game against Milwaukee when he went 11 for 17. Other than that, he's been well below 50% from the field, even in games that we won, like San Antonio. So I don't know like it shouldn't be fatigue. He's not playing more minutes than he was last year, and I don't remember him having a shooting swoon, if you will, like this last year. So I'm not really sure what the cause of it is. I kind of agree with you in that, you know, he had 15 assists last night, but my biggest issue with that is only one of them was to Karl-Anthony Towns. You know, 15 assists is a lot. I mean, good on him, and that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. And frankly, when you have a 5-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, that means you're point guarding well, I would think, like, you know, as far as setting up other players. So I think he should get credit for that. But you know, why are we freezing out our best offensive player right now? Because guess what? Towns' offensive percentages have all risen back to the mean. He's shooting almost identically what he does for his career, and that wasn't the case earlier in the season, you know. And so I'm accepting that this is kind of who the Knicks are, and this is the role that they want Towns to play. I don't agree that this is the best way to utilize him and the way to win basketball games against the best teams in the league. I think you got to find ways to get him more involved on the offensive end, other than just, you know, get an offensive rebound and put it back in. Like, I think that was every one of his shots last night, and that's why he was 7 of 8, or, you know, whatever he was. But, you know, everybody else was a disaster from the field. So, you know, let's try and feed the big fella a little bit in theory. But again, that's not the game plan for whatever reason. And, you know,
thanks for coming around, Geoff, because that's what I pointed out.
No, kudos to you. You've been pointing it out. You've been hitting me over the head with that brick for over a month now, and
but I agree with you. I don't agree with it. We will see how that plays out in the playoffs. You know, but you know, from Mike Brown's calculus, he believes the Knicks are a better team playing this way, and we shall see how that works out. In the playoffs. I'll say this about Brunson. He's in a slump. It happens. You know, even if it didn't happen last year, it's happening this year. You know, it happens. I do wonder how much this new, like, how he's playing now is even different from how he played in the beginning of the season. Like, it's just more passing. In my opinion, too much passing. I think he has to find a better balance. Like, there's sometimes he's right at the rim, and he's passing it out for 3-point shots. So I just want a little better balance with that. But I do like the fact that, you know, when he's double teamed, he is getting the ball out of his hands. One time the ball was swung around to him from a wide open 3. He swung it another time. And maybe it's because he knows he's in a slump. I'm not sure. And I think the question still remains, can Brunson play any other way than the way he played last year and still be him? We shall see, right? He's definitely, I don't know what his usage is, but just from the eye test, he's definitely not dominating the ball the way he did last season. And he's playing within the flow of the offense, you know, how they have it set up, how Mike Brown wants it to be. And he doesn't look like him. And it just remains to be seen whether that's going to work out for the team. In the playoffs. And, you know, that being said, if you want to do plus minus, he was plus 3 last night. I'm not a big plus minus. I'm just not. I'm just not. Take away Towns' 17 rebounds. Him being on the boards, his defensive activity, we lose this game. You know, we lose this game. So anyway, anywhere else you want to go? And Cat, Brunson, we talked about.
No, not with those two. I mean, again, it's an odd dynamic between those two guys. And I think even in the games we've won recently, we've seen, it's the same story we're always seeing. It's not exclusive to this game. So, and again, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's the game plan, and I think we just have to live with it for right now because we can't change it.
One thing I noticed last night, and I'm gonna keep my eye on this. If OG sets the pick for Brunson and he's open, Brunson does not hesitate to give him the ball off the pick and roll. It's usually a pick and pop. Cat sets a screen for Brunson on the pick and roll. That ball goes to Cat 5% of the time. Keep an eye on it going forward. The pick and rolls with Cat and the pick and rolls with everybody else. The other thing I've noticed, and I really don't like, is Hart continually overlooking Cat and passing the ball somewhere else. A few times, once last night, once in another game, he threw the ball all the way across court to the baseline, opposite baseline, for a Mikal Bridges or OG shot, and Karl-Anthony Towns is right there. And listen, Hart's my guy, but I think he's becoming too much of a prima donna. I'm reading into this, but I feel like he's becoming more of a diva. And I need him to put the hard hat back on and understand who's the best players on this team, because it's not him. It's not him. And this is what happens when you get into this type of offense. It's good in the sense that everybody feels involved. Everybody has a stake in the offense. Everybody is making decisions with the ball. That's the positive part of it. But a negative could be that you lose sight of who your best players are, and you seem to think that you can take just as many shots as your best players. And Brown is condoning this. So it's not like the players are just going rogue and doing this. This is the system now. You open, you shoot it. You could take just as many shots as anybody else. There's no hierarchy at all. Just shoot it. And Josh Hart, he's shooting better this year, but in my opinion, he's not one of them players. He's not one of those players to be just looking off Cat and making other decisions. But I've seen that throughout the season. So we could talk about the scheme, but individual players as well are making decisions with the ball, and they're not featuring Cat either.
Yeah, the Hart Brunson pick and roll looks a lot different than the Cat Brunson pick and roll. Let's just say that, And last year, the Hart Cat pick and roll was one of our most effective plays. Like, we saw that quite a bit last year, and I don't think we see it as much this year, and I'm not really sure why. But look, let's be honest. The defense is more than happy to give Josh Hart all the shots in the world that he wants, even if he's hitting them. If it means that Cat doesn't touch the ball, I guarantee you that's a win for the defense right off the bat.
You playing for the other team, basically. you helping them out, and you're absolutely right. Brunson gives Hart the ball like Hart is the one shooting 42% from three, or has a career 42%. He doesn't. I just don't get it. I do not get it. All right. Anyway, we might be bringing the energy down after a loss, but overall a good showing. By the Knicks. What do you think about the Knicks defense last night and over the past, few games? I think we're top 10 now. Last night they said on the broadcast that we were 7. I haven't checked.
The defense Boston with our performance last night is my understanding. I think we're up to 6th.
Okay.
So
are you a believer in the defense? Are you a believer in that and at the number 6? Yeah, that we're top 10.
I'm starting to be. Like, the longer that you do it, the more it seems like it's real, right? And I know we gave up 103 last night, but we have 10 games in the last 20 where teams haven't reached 100 points. That's insane in this day and age. Like, I really, really impressive stuff. I think Jose Alvarado does a lot for us at the point of attack. I know he doesn't play a ton of minutes, but when he does, I think he's done a good job. the starting lineup seems to have figured it out a lot too. I thought down the stretch in the previous game, against Toronto, we weren't good in to start the first and third quarter, but that group really locked in down the stretch of that game. And so and that was the difference in that game. It was like 16-2 closeout, right? Now that was a team that's not as experienced as in terms of winning time when it came to the Thunder, SGA was able to create his own shot and make the big three. But even on that play, I don't know that there's a whole lot you can do about that. Like he crossed over, he pulled up for a difficult shot and he made it. And sometimes you just tip your cap. Like, I don't think that was like an egregious, defensive lapse by I think it was OG that was on him at the time. I think that's the coverage that we had in the fourth quarter. But I think the defense has been good. I think Karl-Anthony Towns has been better. I think you're seeing effort from Brunson. The charges are back. I think feel like that's been an uptick lately. Mikal Bridges' off-ball defense has really been superb. I think we have a lot of lineup and oh, by the way, Josh Hart has played better defense. I know last year JJ in particular was always critical of Hart's defense. I thought he's had some excellent defensive possessions of late, especially, and that's made a difference too. When he's able to kind of get up into the guy and kind of play with his forearm on the chest, without fouling, and physicality that worked against Brandon Ingram, particularly in the fourth quarter. And, as opposed to just having to guard a guy in space, which I don't think is his, forte at all, to say the least. But, still a small sample size, but very encouraging. And, that's the big question. Is it sustainable? And is it repeatable in the playoffs? Like, is it something that we're going to be able to see in the playoffs, or is it just like, because we're in the middle of March and half the teams are tanking and I don't know I don't know how to filter the noise, so to speak, with what's going on, but it sure seems like it's a real thing.
Yeah. Jamrock always JB usage rate last year 30.5, this year it's 31.5. I get it. But I will say you could still have a higher usage rate and be playing off ball. The usage rate is not an indicator of how ball dominant you are. So his usage rate is up, but he's still playing off the ball much more than he was last year. Yeah, I'm a believer in the defense, because I think we've just linked into it more, even if it means our offense is not going to be optimal. So I think, the different lineups Mike Brown puts out there helps the defense. To your point, individual players like Josh Hart, Cat are playing better defense. The Knicks are more disciplined on defense. They don't seem to be rotating. They seem to be executing a defensive plan. Chet Holmgren was in the post against Brunson, and there was a time it would have been like a bee swarm, right, where everybody was going over to help Brunson, and they just allowed, Chet to shoot over the top. He got two, right? So yeah, so I'm a believer in the defense. I think our offense is taking a hit, though. I think, we continue to say we're number 3 in offensive rating, but a big portion of that was how well our offense played the beginning of the season. I think we're a top 10 offensive team. I don't think we're a top 5 offensive team. You could just look at the offense. It's just not there yet, particularly against the really good teams. But this is what we wanted, right? I think, a lot of us, I'm not sure I was in that camp initially, but a lot of Knicks fans wanted to see, listen, our defense needed to improve, even if that meant our offense, wasn't great, wasn't top 5. I think I came along when I looked at this team's process and I started to realize that I don't think this team can take full advantage consistently of a 5-out offense. I just don't think their process is there. So yes, let's lean into the defense because we're leaving so much meat on the bone offensively anyway. And so here we are. And the Knicks have 18 more games, 19, whatever it is, to play closer to their ceiling for the rest of the season. So that'll be interesting. I'm really looking forward to this 5-game road trip. Last night, I liked the game plan. I like Mike Brown mixing it up on Shea. Sometimes it was single coverage. I thought OG did a really good job. He was still efficient, but he didn't go crazy, for 40 points. I think he took 16 shots. He hit 8 or 9 of them. And there were times when we would double team him to get the ball, out of his hand. But it was Chet in that first half that killed us with 6 3-pointers, 22 first half points. The Knicks got a handle on that. He only had 3 points in the second half. 3 or 6 points, 5, something like that in the second half.
He didn't hit a 3 in the second half, though. I think he was. At least I think he had all 6 of his threes. I think were in the first half.
Yes,
but he did have like 6 points. I think you're right.
They were. So I thought the game plan was solid. I thought the execution was solid as well. They just shot 45% from the field, 38% from 3, and the Knicks couldn't hit the side of a barn. And some of that was OKC, and some of it were the Knicks just missing open shots. 42% overall, 27% from 3, and you lose the game by 3. Right.
I mean, look at the final possession. To your point, we had 2 wide open looks from 3. Like those are looks that the OG look. There wasn't anybody within a mile of him. Right. I mean, now he's not the best above the break 3-point shooter either. So I mean, right. Most of his damage comes from the corners. I admit that, and looked like he was a little bit short on that one. So maybe that makes a little bit of sense. But even the look by Brunson, I thought was a clean look that you'll take every time. I mean, how many times have we seen him make that? Right. And I know he was like 2 of 6 in the fourth quarter in crunch time, which is not like him at all anyway. But, I would agree with you. I think the quality of the shots was there. I don't know. I didn't get to watch the first half of it. I don't know if Bridges' shot quality was that good or if he was forcing, but I know Bridges and OG both had terrible games from the field. Like 6 of 7. I think they were both 6 of 17. So, I guess you could say that, well, everybody shot terrible and we still only lost by 3. But to me, that's an even bigger indictment. Like you got to, make enough shots and win the game. Like you are literally, you literally gave that game away because you weren't making your shots. So,
yeah. And then also -6 free throws, I believe it was.
Without the Mitchell Robinson factor, right? It wasn't, usually we're -6 on free throws because Mitch goes 1 for 11, so we didn't have that excuse this time. We just had, Brunson missed a couple, or I don't know. I know Brunson for sure missed a couple, but you look, six missed free throws is in a game you lose by 3 points is significant. Mike Brown gets a technical foul, gives up a free point, and if you're down 2 instead of down 3, maybe OG just takes it up after he gets that offensive rebound instead of having to dribble out to the 3-point line. So there's maybe he gets fouled. There's a lot of calculus and a lot of things that can happen in a game, over the course of a game when you're talking about, when 1 or 2 plays go against you. And so those are, little things matter, and missing free throws is a problem for sure. And we usually are pretty good at the charity stripe, but last night we left too many points on the table for sure.
I don't think we've been good of late, Geoff, though.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know. I haven't looked, so I don't.
I mean, on the season we are, but of late we have not been, and we're not a team who gets to the line a lot. So when we do get there, we need to take advantage of it. We have really good free throw shooters on this team. I think one game we shot 50-something, 60-something%. Of late, we have not been good from the free throw line. And you're right. It's a game of margins. And this is how it is in the playoffs, too. The margins are slim. missed free throws, turning the ball over at inopportune times, technical fouls, lack of timely shots, lack of timely stops. These are things that lead to, a 3-point loss. Still is still a loss. Though I was encouraged by what I saw, from the Knicks in this game. And the Knicks were all over the stats from a positive manner. Rebounds +10, points in the paint +26, offensive rebounds +9, second chance points +10, fast break points +12, points off turnovers +9. Free throws, they were -5. Bench, they were -3. But for the most part, in all those statistical categories, they were a plus. But again, it's a game. If it's a game of margins, and they lost it. What do you think about Diawara not playing in the second half? He was 3 of 4 in the first half, 9 points. I think he only played 13 minutes, and he didn't play at all in the second half.
Kind of think that it was a mistake. And I don't know, and I guess this is playoff basketball, but I think almost all of our starters were up over 36 minutes last night. And I think it's maybe Towns. Let me check on that. And I want to see, because I feel like our minutes played last night was
Josh Hart was 25. Karl Anthony Towns was 33. But you're right. Mikal Bridges was 40. Brunson was 39. OG was 38. Those three.
Yeah, those three. Okay, that's what I was thinking. And Towns was in foul trouble, so that kind of explains why his minutes were not up there. I mean, I'm wondering if he wasn't, obviously he missed the last 5 minutes or so of the game, because I think he fouled out kind of early, it felt like, but yeah, so we played this game a little bit different than we've played some of our other games, and especially on the second night of a back-to-back without Mitchell Robinson, you'd have thought that maybe it would have been a good time, especially when DOR was playing, shooting the ball so well, and and he's got length, so I don't know, I don't know why he didn't see more.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
In the first half, when Mike Brown took him out, he really gave him, he had some, I don't know what he said, but he had some strong words for him when he took him out. So he must have missed an assignment or something on the defensive end. He wouldn't be the only Knick to have missed an assignment overall, and even in last night's game. But I don't know, maybe he thought the margins are slim in a game like this. You can't be making those types of mistakes. Let me go more with the veterans in the second half. I'm not sure, but I do remember when he came out, and he didn't even seem to be involved in that particular play right before the timeout, from what I saw. But Mike Brown was a bit upset with him. So coaches are not just looking at scoring. They're not just looking at you hitting your shots. They're looking at other things as well. You being where you're supposed to be, those sorts of things. So maybe that had something to do with it. And he didn't feel like he could play through he could allow him to play through his mistakes in last night's game. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, but I don't know. He only played 13 games, and kudos to Diawara. He hit 3 or 4 3-pointers, I think it was, in that first half, and he's just not. Either he doesn't know or he doesn't care about what's a big game, and just a lot of confidence from him, shooting the ball with confidence, and it's good to see his teammates pouring into him and encouraging him to continue to shoot.
Now, if we could just pour into that 7-foot guy out of Kentucky, who's an all-star for ever. I'm glad that we're encouraging Diawara to shoot. Let's encourage Karl Anthony Towns to shoot, please.
Yeah, salute to Quiet Money, man. It's been a minute. Is good to see you. Hopefully everything is good with with you and yours. Um yeah, I missed, chomping it up with you about the Knicks. Brooklyn in the house. Um Kim Doc, Josh misses every assignment and plays 35 minutes. Like, come on. Randu, 1973. Diawara should have been playing in the fourth quarter. Okay. Nick Nation, part of the crew. He was irritated at Diawara for the reach and foul on Shea, but he was more irritated at the officials and took it out on Diawara. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely appreciate you. All right, let me see. Oh, I want to talk about Shamet. Like Shamet, the Knicks had a 40-point third quarter. He had 11 points. We're seeing a little bit more in his bag. I like his efficiency of movement. It's not a lot of rocking back and forth. He either taking you straight to the basket for a layup, or he's pulling up for his mid-range shot, or he's hitting a three. Efficient in his movements. He's been playing very, very well for us, and he played well for us last night. I think he's averaging like 26, 27 minutes over the past few games and really delivering in that time. And even when he doesn't shoot well, I love his defense. Like it's amazing. Like he doesn't seem to be really quick to me. But laterally, it's rare that you see someone get around him. If you're going to shoot over the top, fine, but he will move those puppies, as Kendrick Perkins would say, and body you up and get really physical and not use his hands. And you just have to shoot over the top if you're going to get a bucket on him. Really, really like the way he's playing on both ends of the floor of late. What your thoughts?
Yeah, he has a really great ability to navigate around screens, and he just gets right up in your chest as a defender. Like I love that about him. Like say what you will, you're gonna feel him. You're gonna know he's there defensively, and I'm surprised at the dribble drive game. Like that has been a revelation to me. I didn't know. Like I just assumed when when we got him even last year, that this is just a guy who's going to be catch and shoot threes and that's going to be the limit of his offense. But he's really of late especially shown that he's not afraid to take the ball to the basket. And as you said, he's very decisive. Like whatever he's going to do, he kind of knows what it is before he even catches. He's like, and he can get his shot off quickly from three also. So if he catches it, he's not gonna allow the defense a chance to come to him. But if they do attack him hard on a closeout, he's not afraid to blow by and get into the lane and take a shot. So he's been playing well. It's funny because I like Shamet, but I also feel like this isn't last night, but a lot lately, I feel like some of our most negative lineups are ones where he's been in, and I don't necessarily know why that is necessarily, but maybe it's who he's paired with. But no, I actually like what Shamet has done all season. He's a tough player. He guards you, and I think he's one of the reasons our defense has been better. Like I think he provides a point of attack. He and Alvarado, between those two, when they're in the game most of the time and they're taking those point of attack assignments, they're not locked down, but they're gonna be pesky, and that slots everybody else more into their positions of comfort, which is important. And so, yeah, I'm really pleased with Landry Shamet's play. Man, you want to talk about a value contract?
Yeah,
I mean, I think that a lot of teams are like, man, how did we not get this guy for the minimum? Like, think about it, and compare that to say Jordan Clarkson, who's making the same amount of money and is getting splinters. So, yeah. Great job by Landry last night.
Yeah. I would like. I mean, it's too early, right? We got to see what happens in the playoffs. But I would like to see him back if we can get him on a value. If we can get him on a value contract. Though I do believe there's going to be major changes from the Knicks this offseason if we don't make it to the finals. All right, let's get to the chat. We talked about the defense. We talked about the officiating. Yeah. The OG challenge, right? They looked at it, and not only is it not an and one, it was an offensive foul. Was it? Was that the one that was an offensive foul, or was it the cat? They looked
Both of them were offensive fouls. Both challenges resulted in offensive fouls.
So I mean, so not only do we get the basket, it's an off. Yeah. I don't talk about the officials, but last night it was a mess, and I'm not blaming anybody who says the reason we lost that game, the refs had a big part to do with it. I'm not going to even argue with you. I'm not saying I'm going to say that, but I'm not going to argue with you. All right, let's get to the chat. Paris Duggan, my take is the Knicks can beat OKC. We played a tough game in Toronto, and SGA rested in his game in Chicago. Also, Diawara at 20 years old is really a big piece. Yeah, I agree with that. Mike T 424, a two-man game between Josh Hart and Brunson is crazy, but no Cat and Brunson pick and roll. And that was our diet down the stretch. A Brunson and Hart. This is what I talk about process. Now, I would have to go back and look at the game and see where they cutting off all of the opportunities. But a pick and roll is a pick and roll. You know, you could call anybody up for a pick and roll. So,
but don't you think that the reason they're doing that, the reason that, in my opinion, I haven't looked at it as closely like you said, but don't you think it's because Hart has the center on him?
Center on them.
And because Hart has the center on him, that's the guy you want in the screen and roll, because that way you're bringing the center out of the paint, and you're having a matchup where you're attacking, right? I mean, that at least that's the
there's a switch, and on the switch, right, Brunson is matched up with the center and can take him off the dribble. Yeah, I get it, but I think if you got to do all of that, take Josh out the game. Down the stretch, but yeah. I get that. Quiet Money, Shamet, and Diawara are some of my favorite players on the team. Mohammed Hassan, without Cat, we ain't going nowhere. We need him to get involved more. From your lips to God's ears. And Knicks will go home early, I take it, if they don't do that. That's what he was saying. Break forever. That's why I don't trust Mike Brown. The playoffs will tell the story. The playoffs will tell the story. He also, too much Josh Hart with a broke down back, you know? Okay. Oh. She alive Putin. I'm tired of Karl Anthony Towns shooting threes like he's Steph. Well, when did you see that? Like, I haven't seen that in a while.
Did he even shoot a three? I think he had one 3-point attempt last night and he missed it.
Yeah, like I haven't seen him taking 3-pointers in a while. I think the last time he put up 9, he hit 5 of them. And after that, he might have taken, I don't even think he's taken 9 collectively since then.
And as Ajay would say, he needs to shoot more of them.
Yeah. Appreciate the comment, though. Randu, we did not help ourselves out any by missing free throws in the fourth quarter. Yep. Okay. Kim Doc, are they intentionally hiding him on the bench like they don't want to increase Diawara's value? I think the cat is out of the bag.
Yeah, for sure.
At this point. Anna Grill 1, I wish Brunson could play without his safety blanket and make simple passes to the middle or back to the screener, especially if it's Cat. Stop constantly looking for Hart. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Mike Brown start the fourth quarter with the starter still in the game?
Yeah, maybe wanting to take advantage of Were we up by 3?
We were up by 3 at the end of the third quarter.
I think
And
he was trying.
usually that start of the fourth quarter is Alvarado and
Correct.
Cat led lineup, and
Mhm.
he went with the starters during that stretch, which is, you know, and I you know, Monday morning quarterback and all, but that, because obviously we lost the game, but maybe, you know, maybe sticking with the normal rotation, and that would have been where Diawara would have been in the game too. You know, maybe that would have better served us, because, you know, we ended up, you know, going from up 3 to down 7, and then we, you know, we clawed and fought our way back, but we couldn't ever get back over the hump. So maybe if you have those, you know, maybe if you give the starters a little bit extra rest too, maybe if Brunson doesn't play the entire fourth quarter, maybe, you know, he makes those shots at the end. I don't know.
What do you think went into the decision?
I don't know. I'm curious about that, because he hasn't really done that in any other game. And the only thing I would say is that he, you know, he wanted the game and he treated it like a playoff game. And so he said, I'm going to use my starters more. But it was the second game of a back-to-back. I don't really feel like that's really the smartest use of his rotation. So I kind of feel like if that was the strategy, he got out-coached a little bit last night. I think that, to me, like, go with what's been working. Not why are we doing something completely different against the defending champs than what we were doing against, like, San Antonio and some of these other teams where it was working. So a little bit curious about that. I don't know what you think about it.
You know, I always, when it comes to coaches, I'll always preface it by saying they have more information than we do, watching it on TV. So there was something that went into that decision that, you know, clearly none of us were aware of. You know, maybe he felt like, you know, he didn't want to lose ground. Maybe he felt like, from what he saw early from Diawara and Alvarado, he didn't think that was, you know, he didn't feel comfortable going back to them to start the fourth. I don't know. But it backfired. It didn't, you know, it didn't work. And to your point, the Knicks had to find a way to get back into that game. Kim Doc said the starting lineup's offensive rating is dirt. They do not start well together at all, always starting these games in the mud and a hole. I will say this. There has to be a reason that two different coaches are doing it. Is it political with Josh Hart? Or is there something else that they see in that they feel like it's worth it, even though the lineup data doesn't support it? Do they feel like it's the rebounding? Do they feel like, I don't know. I don't know. But two different coaches is making this.
That's what I was about to say. It's got to be something, because Thibodeau was willing to die and did die on that hill, and now Brown is marching up it himself, and so there has to be something to it that we're not seeing, even though even the advanced metrics are kind of, you know, murky at best. Let's just say that. I don't want to, you know, get too deep a dive into it, but a little bit murky.
Anna Girl would love to have seen the Sohan OG Bridges blitz on SGA more, and Hart could have stayed out despite some late baskets. Yeah. But I didn't think that SGA killed us. You know, but he was efficient. I think he only took 16 shots. He took 16 shots, hit 9 of them. Took 1 3-pointer. He's not really a 3-point shooter. He did go to the line 7 times, hit all 7 of them. 8 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 is, you know, I mean, he had a solid all around game. All right. Was anyone surprised that Josh Hart entered the game after Cat fouled out instead of Diawara? I think it's tough to ask a coach to close, you know, with a rookie. I think Mike Brown has shown a lot of trust in Diawara. I don't know if he's there yet. I don't know if Mike Brown is there yet. but I wouldn't have been mad.
I don't know. When after Towns fouled out, we closed the gap. So it's not like the lineup that he left out on the floor with Hart at the 5 was a disaster. In fact, it almost sent us over. Like, I think it's a different conversation if one of those 2 threes goes in. You're probably saying, "Oh, what a great job!" Letting Hart play the 5. And it was just kind of a strange. But Hartenstein didn't really play that many minutes. I think he's still dealing with injuries. He was only in for like 16 or 17 minutes, and he had 5 rebounds, but he didn't really impact the game that much. And, Robinson was out, and you're certainly not going to put Ukborti in the game at that point. And I'm not sure that Diawara is the guy in that situation that necessarily is you want. Although he's big, but I don't think he's a 5 by any stretch of the imagination. And probably Hart's a better rebounder than he is probably part of that calculus too.
Right. I don't feel as high on the loss as everyone else. I'm pissed off. It was winnable. They will get smoked in the next game against OKC when they're fully healthy. Just my feeling. Okay.
I don't know about the second half of that statement, but I'm definitely on board with the first half of that statement. And Queen said at the beginning, we're not the moral victory club. Like, if you're here for that, then this is not your channel. But I don't know. I think, like, what did we do in this game that's not sustainable in another game? Like, when we'll find out in a couple weeks. But I've seen them go into Paycom and get a win. So, I think I'll be surprised if they're non-competitive in that game. Maybe they will be, but I think that we can certainly compete.
Wolverine 1986 need to be harder on Coach Brown and Rick. What do we need to be harder on? Put it in the chat if you agree or disagree. And what do we need to be harder on? Oh. All right, let me see. Shamrock always, believe it or not, Jalen Brunson's usage rate. Okay, we talked about that, but he had another comment. Okay, here it is. Is it only a slump, or was he in jail yesterday? Well, I say it's a slump because we're not just talking about last night's game. We're talking about his shooting over the past few games. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I'll say this about Brunson. Brunson is making a concerted effort to play differently than last year. So I think what some Knick fans may be seeing as Brunson falling off and, Brunson's not scoring as much and they're locking him up, I see as Brunson is just getting off the ball and he's not forcing it. He's not forcing it. If you want to see Brunson go one-on-one and take 13 seconds to set up his shot because he's not quick, so he has to do all of these maneuverings with his footwork to get the defender off balance, he can do that. And we'll be sitting here saying, wow, this guy is phenomenal. But he's changed his game. He doesn't do that as often. Mike Brown doesn't want him pounding the ball, wants him to get off of it quicker. And so what may be seen as him falling off, I think is just him, in my opinion, playing within the system. It remains to be seen how that works in the playoffs. I think we're going to have some periods of the burner. All right. Get Smooga. I get Smooga, or I get Smooga. One or the other. Not too mad at the loss. Okay. I think we got Wolverine. Mike Brown lost us the game. How? I'm interested. By not putting Diawara in the game, do you think? By missing the 2 shots at the end? How did Mike Brown lose us the game? Rebuild NYK. Brunson is trying to establish his teammates, everyone except Cat. When we hit threes, it opens up the floor for Brunson. Yes, Deborah Flowers, 8095. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. I was so happy to see Brown get a tech. I need to see him fight for Towns. Without Towns, no ring. I mean, it did cost us a point in a tightly contested game, but in the moment, I was happy about it too. I was like, yes, a little life in yourself when it comes to these officiating. And yeah, I would like to see him do that whenever it's necessary, regardless of the player. JJ said Deborah is David Smith's burner. Oh boy. Let's see. JJ in the building. I'm done with moral victories. We're title contenders, aren't we? Anna Grill, if Brunson can't cook without heart, then we have serious problems. Yeah. Let's not act like OKC was healthy. No, J. Will and Caruso and Hartenstein left the game. Yeah.
They weren't healthy, but neither were we. We had no Mitch, no Deuce. So I mean, the players who are on the court were on the court. Like J-Dub is definitely a loss for them. But I mean, Chet Holmgren had the game of his life. Like, I don't think, he did 6 of 11 for 3 and 28 points. That's not who he normally is. So we should have won the game, but I think there were injuries on both sides. That second night of a back-to-back, Hartenstein did play, so it's not like he wasn't there. So yeah, those are circumstances. They came out and they won the game, and we didn't. So
yeah, just 2 more. Sherwin, good morning. Cat is playing the best I have ever seen him play. We are not losing to these teams because of our front court. We are too small in the back court. You always moving the goalposts, Sherwin. I hear you. Brunson is not in a slump. Teams are forcing the other players to beat him. He isn't. The shots that he is, we're not saying he's in a slump because he's not hitting his average. We're saying he's in a slump because of his shooting percentage. So teams are forcing other players to beat them, and Brunson is willing to allow that to happen. Like, he's getting off the ball. But when he does shoot, he's not shooting well. I think it's fair to say that he's in a bit of a shooting slump over the past few games.
It's undoubtedly. It's absolutely true. I mean, look at the last 5 games. It's under 50% from the field in all but one of them. So, right. And it's clear, which is fine. You're going to have that over the course of the season. Like, that's how percentages work, as you rightly say.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you, JJ. You can say whatever you want. You don't even need to quantify it. Wow, Sherwin. You think we are title contenders? You're living in La La Land, and Kim Doc also. Nah, too many warts. But these teams are not perfect either. Like, we watch the Knicks game in and game out. But if you watch these other teams game in and game out, they're not perfect either. Like, they all have deficiencies.
Boston looked really mortal against Charlotte last night, for example. And Charlotte is the team that I don't want to see in the first round, period. Like, the Hornets are really starting to play good ball, but the point being is that everybody is vulnerable. I mean, you saw the Spurs. And then you saw that we beat the Spurs, and then the Spurs beat the Sixers by 8,000 points the very next night. So, everybody has flaws, and, it's about who can win 16 games, in April, May, and June, and it's a different animal. So we'll see who's going to rise and who's going to fall. I mean, is Detroit going to look like they did against the Knicks, or is Cade going to shoot like he did against the Cavs when he was 1 of 34 from 3? We don't know yet. We'll see. But, we're 40-23. We're right there in the mix. Our net rating certainly suggests that we're a championship contending team. We're top 10 in both offensive rating and defensive rating, and climbing. And so you can I guess you can say that we're not a contender, but I don't think that the numbers would back up that assessment. If you just want to say that it's the eye test and that the 40 wins in 63 games is not good enough, because of the Phil Jackson rule. Okay. I'll entertain that discussion, but if we're not at that level, we're right below it. I mean, you have to at least say that.
Yeah, Kingston vibes. I appreciate you. I get that, and that's something I'm hoping evens out over the next 18 games, and so that they're playing closer to their ceiling as we get closer to the playoffs. But that's a fair point. David Albaya just got here. Did we speak about the refs yet? Proud of my Knicks. We spoke about the refs. We spoke about that lack of a charge call on Shea, the overturn call, not even just overturning it, but turning them into offensive fouls on OG and Towns. We talked about it. And the Knicks still had an opportunity between Brunson and OG to send that game into overtime. Yeah. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you. Like I said, this is the collective, and we definitely want the chat to be a part of the conversation. So hopefully we did that this show, and we intend to do that every show. We're on tonight, 9:00 for our weekly show. Shout out to the replay gang and definitely the silent listeners. We might not see you or hear you, but we know you out there.
And we appreciate you.
And we appreciate you.
You had me nervous. I thought you said 4-hour weekly show. I was like, wait a minute, we're going to be doing 4 hours tonight. Ain't nobody said nothing about that to me.
No. FOR.
Homophones are hard. It's too early in the morning for my brain, I guess.
Any last words, Geoff?
Hope to see y'all tonight. Should be a good one. Tough loss, but I'm not going to let it, it's a good team. We played a decent game, not a great game, and just move forward. This is, Hell Week continues, right? We've got Denver on Friday in Denver, and then we the Lakers. So it's going to be it's going to be a brutal stretch, and we're going to find out a lot more about our team. So very, very interesting road ahead.
Yeah, I Geoff, I know he's supposed to be getting out of here. I know he's supposed to. I need to know if this ball finds energy stuff that Mike Brown talks about factors in when the ball finds negative energy. Okay, all right. And Doughboy Fresh Music, appreciate you. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. By the way, shout out to, my high IQ sister for giving us some morning Knick nudes. I love Diawara on the court. I think he has a high ceiling. As well. And I didn't pull a Geoff and highlight that because he said high IQ sister. I didn't see that.
Man, those bus tracks are hurting.
All right, Paris Duggar, appreciate the super chat. Always rocking with us. We got to stop putting Josh on spot up 3-point shooters. Yeah, I would have to look at it. Yeah, he has to play somebody. But I hear you. All right. And for that, we are out of here. And Geoff doesn't want Charlotte in the first round. Who are the contenders for us to meet in the first round? Charlotte,
Toronto, Philadelphia, Orlando, I think are the closest ones.
Yeah, I'm good with any of them. I'm good with any of them. But I haven't seen Charlotte lately, so maybe I need to take a look at them. Do we play them again? I'm pretty sure we haven't. Have we played them yet? Maybe once.
I don't know. That's a great question. Where's Ajay with his full-length schedule there? He would be able to tell it.
Yeah. Yes, it's my first show, by the way. I have the best New York Knicks anthems on my page. Garden seats to nosebleed drops tonight just for the fans. All right. Doughboy Fresh Music. Appreciate you. All right. Until next time, family, be sure to join us tonight for the weekly show, 9 p.m. Hope to see you there. Peace.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.
What?
Don't so.